Hey, Bible nerds, this is Dr. Manny Arango. Welcome to the Bible Department podcast, powered by Arma. We are walking through the entire Bible in a year. You can go to the description or thebibledepartment.com to download a reading plan and join the journey. To all my fellow pastors, I've got a question for you. Does your city know that your church exists? Listen, I get it. You're preaching, you're leading, you're discipling, you're doing ministry. We are in the same boat. And let's be honest, social media and marketing, not your strong suit, not mine either. And that's probably the last thing on your mind. And that's why we chose to partner with Church Candy Marketing for our church plant, The Garden. We out here, y'all. They help churches get more actual guests walking through the doors on Sunday without you or I having to stress over ads or algorithms or trying to crack the social media code. Right now, Church Candy is helping nearly 400 churches reach their communities with simple invite ads, and it works. It's super effective. I can tell you from firsthand experience. So if you're tired of being your city's best kept secret, how about you do this? Go to churchcandy.com/Manny and book a free consultation, book a discovery call. Their team will break it all down and show you how to start seeing new faces at your church this Sunday. I'm in the trenches with you, trying to grow the church. And how about we just start a whole campaign? No more empty churches. So let's partner with Church Candy and get our churches full for the glory of Jesus. Let's go. Got another big chunk today. Hey, if you've done the reading, I'm so proud of you. If you're on a streak, I'm super, super proud of you. Let's dive into Revelation chapters 12 through 16. It is day 79 on the Arma Bible reading plan. And that means if you did the reading today, you just did 79 days down 286 days to go. So I'm proud of you. Hey, if you haven't done the reading today, just pause this episode, mute this, pause this, go do the reading. Trust me, what I'm going to say really makes the most sense if you've actually done the reading. So let's dive in. Okay, I'm gonna give you context clues, then nerdy nuggets, then we'll get into our timeless truth. Context clue, okay? John is writing this letter or this apocalyptic book from Ephesus, okay? Now, if you're standing in the city center of Ephesus looking out at the harbor, there's something in that you would have seen being erected during John's lifetime. And this was the largest gymnasium in the ancient world, okay, in the city of Ephesus. Now, there's this word, it's called Advent. Now, a lot of Christians think that Advent is like an inherently Christian term, but it's not, okay? Every Caesar had an Advent, okay? And an Advent was simply their arrival, okay? Their arrival into a city. This is neither here nor there, but, okay, your Advent is your first coming, like your first arrival, your first coming to a city, and your Parousia is your second coming. So these are secular words. These are not inherently Christian words. These are secular words that Christians that appropriate. So, like, this has nothing to do with Revelation, but I love this, all right? Now, let's say a lot of times an emperor would make an Advent to a city that, like, had an earthquake. We know from history that Thessalonica actually had a couple of Advents because they're prone to getting earthquakes. And on the first Advent, or the first arrival of the emperor to your city, he would survey the damage a lot. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers, like, Hurricane Katrina. George Bush, like, was actually quite criticized for not going to New Orleans and making, you know, some appearances at the sites of the devastation. Anywho, at the end of the Advent, that emperor would then give a large sum of money to the city to, like, you know, reconstruct, to build back their city. But everyone knew that an Advent would be followed by a Parousia, a second coming. And what would happen during the second coming is that the emperor would want to see what the residents of the city did with the gift that he gave them. So he would want to inspect whether or not they actually used the resources for the building of their city. So the idea of a second coming is that in the first coming, the king or the leader, the ruler, gives and disseminates gifts. We experience the generosity of the leader. because we're going to be held responsible for the gift that we've been given. And we're going to have to answer or give an account for what we've done with those resources in the second coming. Now, of course, the gospel writers are going to take this imagery. They're going to take this symbolism. They're going to take these ideas and they are going to apply this to Jesus. Okay, so that doesn't have much to do with Revelation, but I just thought it was too good to not tell you guys. Okay, so Domitian had 22 advents. That's a lot of advents, all right? He had 22 advents. He had 22 arrivals. And one of the biggest advents is when he showed up to Ephesus for the grand opening of this gymnasium. Now, this gymnasium was huge, massive. And for a structure this size, it should have taken 100 years to build this thing, okay? It should have taken 100 years, a whole century, to construct this massive gymnasium. But Domitian was kind of known for building projects. It takes, my man, 4 years to build something that should take 100 years to build. And so historians refer to Domitian as the beast. So if you're standing at the city center of Ephesus and you're looking out to the harbor of Ephesus, you would have saw Domitian's gymnasium being built insanely fast, and a lot of people would have referred to it as the beast rising out of the sea. You get it? Now let me read Revelation chapter 13 to you. It says this, and I saw a beast rising out of the sea. Okay, the original audience would have immediately understood, okay, exactly what John was talking about. He's making reference to the Roman emperor, the Roman Empire at large, this particular Roman emperor, like this singular Roman emperor who is persecuting God's people. And everyone would have referred to this gymnasium as the beast rising out of the sea. You can imagine it should take 100 years to build something. It takes 4 years, and almost think about it like a literal time lapse. Like you're watching this thing come up out of the sea. If you're looking out of the harbor from the city center, it literally looks like it's coming out of the sea. Now, Domitian was paying for that gymnasium out of, his own pocket. So like federal money. But the province of Asia wanted to make sure that they honored Domitian as well. And so equally fast as the gymnasium, they were building a Flavian temple. And the Flavian temple is actually the place where you would have received a stamp in order to buy and sell. Now, the stamp would have been proof that you gave a pinch of incense to the emperor. Okay, so it was kind of like a confirmation that you had taken part in emperor worship. And if you hadn't taken part in emperor worship, you couldn't buy or sell anything in the agora. Okay, so this is the mark of the beast that's being talked about. Now, how does the Flavian temple get described? It gets described as a smaller beast in the book of Revelation. Okay, you see how these symbols and these images actually are referring to real things. Let's keep going in chapter 13, verse 11. It says, then I saw another beast that rose out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast on its behalf, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. Remember, the Flavian temple, the job of the Flavian temple is to give you a mark so that it's confirming that you worshiped the emperor. Okay, so we're getting a lot of symbolic language for like buildings. These are buildings. Now, these buildings also represent the power and the dominion and the violence and the force of the emperor and the empire known as Domitian and Rome. Okay, so I hope that helps us with chapter 13. Okay, this is a quote by Pliny. He says that the beast of the sea, that Domitian was the beast of the sea whose teeth drip with the blood of good Romans. Now, I want to take you to Revelation chapter 13, 12. We're going to talk about the mark of the beast a little bit. We'll get back to the mark of the beast in our timeless truth for the day. But I want to give you a nerdy nugget. Okay, so I gave you a lot of context clues for interpreting this stuff. Actually, before we move on to a nerdy nugget, I'm going to give you one more piece of context, okay? One of the big things that we're going to get in this whole section, chapters 12 through 16, we're going to get signs and bowls, okay? In our last chunk from yesterday, we got seals and trumpets. Today, we're going to get signs and bowls. So let me actually just give you a list of the 7 signs. Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. is a woman clothed with the sun, moon under her feet, 12 stars on her head. Number 2 is an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 7 crowns and 10 horns. Sign number 3 is Revelation 13, 1 through 10, a beast from the sea. The 4th sign is Revelation 13, 11 through 18, a beast from the land. 5th sign is Revelation 14, verses 1 through 13, the Lamb enthroned with 144,000, 3 angels in the eternal gospel. And then 6th is Revelation chapter 14, verse 14, 20, which is the Son of Man with a sickle and his angels ready to harvest. And then 7th, the 7th sign is Revelation chapter 15, verse 1, 7 angels and the 7 bowls. So the 7th sign starts the next round, which we've actually seen already with trumpets and trumpets in the seals, right? The last of one kind of starts the first of the next, okay? They kind of overlap in that way. Bible Department family, my brand new book, Crushing Chaos, is out, and the trailer is fire. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can watch it for yourself right now. Yeah. What if I told you dragons were real? For the original audience of Genesis, dragons were a common symbol that represented chaos. Dragons were normal in the ancient world, and so were the deities that conquered them. The Babylonian god named Marduk conquered the dragon named Tiamat. The Egyptian sun god named Ra had to conquer a dragon called Apep. And the Canaanite god that many of us know from the Old Testament named Baal had to conquer a 7-headed dragon named Lotan. So when the original audience of Genesis heard about a beast tempting Adam and Eve in the garden, they wouldn't have pictured a slithering snake. Oh no. They would have pictured a ferocious chaos dragon. The original audience would only have one question: who's going to conquer this dragon? Yahweh will not conquer this dragon. Yahweh is not like any of the other gods. He is not like Marduk. He is not like Ra or Baal. He has no rival. He has no equal. The dragon is not his adversary to conquer, but Adam and Eve's adversary to conquer. By partnering with chaos, they became the beast they were called to conquer. Who will conquer the dragon? Jesus crushed the head of the dragon who tempted Adam and Eve, but the monster in the mirror still lives. And I want to invite you to tame the beast within and to partner with God in subduing and ordering the cosmos around you. The only question left is this: how do we crush the chaos that we've become? The reason why I wanted to give you all 7 signs is because unlike the bowls and the trumpets and the seals, it's not super clear when there's another sign, but there are 7 of them, and now you have all 7. Okay, that's all of our context clues for this chunk of Revelation, okay? The next thing that we have is Revelation chapter 13, verse 12. So let's go there. Revelation chapter 13, verse 12, it says this: it exercises all the authority of the first beast on his behalf, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. Okay? So there's this mortal wound that's talked about, and you can see it in chapter 13, verse 3. One of its heads seemed to have received a death blow, but its mortal wound had been healed. In amazement, the whole earth followed the beast. Okay, so there's this mortal wound that gets talked about. Now, there's 2 options contextually for what this mortal wound is. So that's our nerdy nugget for the day. I'll give you both options. I don't know either way which option it is. Okay, so option number 1 is that this is a reference to Vespasian. Okay, he's the emperor for 10 years, from 69 AD till 79 AD. And he actually had a mortal wound, like, on his head. And inhabitants of Rome, citizens of Rome, actually thought that he was going to die, and then he did not, and he was miraculously healed. So this could be talking about Vespasian. Okay, here's the other option, is that once Nero dies, okay, in 68 AD, there are 3 Caesars who, I mean, are just like don't last long. Okay. So after Nero, you've got Emperor Galba, who is the emperor from 68 to 69. And then we've got Emperor Otho, who's the emperor from January of 69 to April of 69. Okay. So 4 months. And then we've got Aulus Vitellius, who's the next Caesar from July of 69 AD till December of that same year. And so in a year, less than a 2-year period, you got 3 emperors, and a lot of the known world at that point thought that was the end of the Roman Empire, that the death of Nero was a mortal wound to the empire of Rome. But to everyone's shock, the Roman Empire was far from being dead or from being gone. And so those are the 2 popular ways that gets interpreted. Either way, guess what? The beasts and the beast represents the Roman Empire, which immediately leads us into our timeless truth. One of the things that I really, really enjoy about reading reading Revelation responsibly. I don't know why I just thought about Scott McKnight's book, Reading Romans Backwards. Very different than reading Romans responsibly. One of the things that I really like about reading Romans, oh my gosh, I did it again, about reading Revelation responsibly. One of the things I really like about reading Revelation responsibly is that Michael Gorman, the author, really forces us to ask the question, do American Christians live in an empire? Is America an empire? And how do we engage with said empire if America is an empire? Because the Bible has some not good things to say about empire building and about empires and about the business and the militarism of empiring, okay? And how the inhabitants of an empire really have a lot to gain based on the militaristic conquest of that empire. And I think we just have to, even if we don't come to any conclusions, we have to acknowledge that John is forcing Christians to ask the question that we're going to now ask in our timeless truth. I want you to grab these 3 passages of scripture. The first is Revelation 7:3, Revelation 9:4, and then Revelation 13:17. I'll read Revelation 7:3 and 9:4. It says this: do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of God. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. Okay, so we have a seal, and it's on the foreheads, and we have a number. Okay, and then Revelation 9:4 says this: they were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Okay, so the people of God are sealed. And how does that juxtapose with Revelation 13:17? It says this: so they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. So the seal that God has for believers is juxtaposed to the mark that the beast puts on unbelievers. And I think the timeless truth for all of us is to ask ourselves this question: do we want to be sealed by God or marked by the beast? Do I want to receive a seal from God, which says, hey, like I seal you for eternal life? Or do I want to be marked by the beast, which allows me to prosper here in this life? Okay, so am I going to pick, what does it gain a man to gain the world? What does it profit a man to gain the world but lose your soul? I actually think that's the question that Revelation is asking us, but it's asking us that via images and symbols. So our timeless truth as Americans, as those of us who live within this empire called America, and if you don't believe we're an empire, just think about how many military bases we have around the world. Think about globalization. How about you do this? Ask this question: how many countries does America sell weapons to? How many lives have been shed just by American weapons? Not even our military just our weapons, just assault rifles and AKs and nuclear and bombs and rocket launchers. And you go down a rabbit trail when it comes to arms dealers, American arms dealers and arms dealing, and who we actually sell weapons to, and how much money America makes, keeps, generates based on the unfair treatment of people around the world. And just ask those questions. Do that research for yourself. And then you can figure out, okay, is America an empire? Do I live in a modern day empire? And I think for any Christian who lives in an empire, whether persecuted or not persecuted, we have to ask some of the questions that John is forcing the readers, the original audience of Revelation, to ask. And I think it will behoove us to ask those questions and to be honest and to dialogue with other believers and with ourselves. So it's our timeless truth for the day. Do you want to be sealed by God for eternity, or do you want to compromise and receive the mark so that you can operate in the economics of the empire today? Or do you refuse to operate in the economics of the empire today so that you can build for yourself treasures in heaven where moth and rust don't destroy and thieves cannot break in and steal? All right, guys, that was day 79. Tomorrow we got day 80. We're going to continue our trek through Revelation tomorrow. And I'm super excited about it. I'll see you right here for day 80. If you got a streak going, don't break it. I'm so proud of you. And I love you guys. I'll see you right here tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us on the Bible Department podcast. If this episode was helpful, how about you leave a comment, share with a friend, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. To learn more about the show, head to thebibledepartment.com. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.